Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Good morning, everybody.
Wow.
Good morning, Rob.
How you doing? So anybody have any big wins this week you want to share before we get started? No? Today's not the time to be shy. All right. So today we're going to talk about resilience. I think resilience is something that is going to help us through any type of bumps or transitions and see challenges as opportunities. Let me just get my thing set up here. Can you check if that printed for me? Not print it yourself. No, but you check the printer first. All right. Who wants to try to give me a definition of resilience? Miguel, what's resilience for you?
Bounce back.
Bounce back, Bobby?
Eternal vigilance.
Vigilance. Miguel, what's resilience for you?
Working through and determining to work through obstacles.
Working through obstacles. So, and those are all good definitions. I just have resilience is the capacity to overcome adversity. It's the muscle and habit forming skills and the ability to adapt. This is important. It's being calm. I shared it with you. It's being calm, clear, and stable when things are overwhelming. It's kind of being calm under fire. When you're grateful and don't think anything, when we're grateful and don't think anything for granted, anything and everything is possible. Now, anybody ever you encounter a transaction or an opportunity or an obstacle, and you're prepared for it and you solve the problem, how does that feel? You feel like you're made for the moment, right? You met the challenge. And my example of this is when I go and try to help somebody, if I'm invited to meet a client of yours, a buyer or a seller, and there's a challenge, the seller maybe not doesn't see value in what we do, and they don't push back, they don't give me objections. If I don't get those objections to satisfy and overcome, I feel like it was a shallow victory, right? And there's no, I don't need to be present if there is no challenge, and challenge is what makes us better. How do you make resilience your superpower? Who has resilience as a superpower? That's why, Brenda's like, that's why I'm here, because I need it.
Do.
Right. So, the way that you make resilience your superpower is by changing your perspective. Okay. Instead of, are you a victim of circumstances, or do you use your circumstances to fuel your motivation for success? When you adjust your perspective, you see opportunities as challenges. That makes sense? And, I often say in these meetings that over time, nobody's lucky and nobody's unlucky. You get what you deserve. Nobody's unlucky. Everybody gets what they deserve. So if Trish Lahane has 100 clients and Miguel and Beth, essentially they're all the same. You might get the one difficult one, the first one. It might be the 98th one, but you're going to get the same segment. I don't believe that you can attract negative clients to an overwhelming extent, or you can only attract positive ones. Anybody want to push back on that? We're going to take that. So why would you say that you expect challenge and feel indifferent if there is no challenge? Why do I expect challenge? Because there normally is, and that's really our ability to create separation and identify our unique value, right? Because if it was easy, for example, to procure listings that were priced right, then everybody would do it. So now it requires a talent, and it often requires overcoming objections, right? How many times do we do transactions in this business where there's no objections, there's no resistance, right? There's no challenge, almost never, right? It could be getting the buyer to sign a buyer agency agreement, getting a buyer to make a reasonable offer, getting the buyer to perform, getting the seller to accept, getting their appraisal to come in at value, getting the other side to communicate effectively with us. All of these things are things that can come up in a transaction and can derail it. Okay. I remember this is going back well before COVID. One of our agents, a newer agent here, had went to a seller and said, look, we can close in 30 days. We're cash off. We're going to put it as a cash offer, but we are getting financing, but we can close in 30 days. Happened to be a busier time of the cycle. They were like stressing out that they wouldn't be able to close on time. And I'm like, okay, Lisa, let's call the other side. Let's just start with a conversation. Okay. And I called the other agent. They answered the phone. I'm like, hey, it's Rob from Max. I'm here with Lisa. Just wanted to talk to you about Main Street, right? And the lady goes, could you do me a favor? Can we push the closing back 2 weeks? My seller's having a hard time getting everything put together in time. And I'm like, boy, that was easy because we just had that conversation, right? But even if it wasn't, if you address it up front and not wait till right before it becomes critical, it becomes more problematic. Okay. And sometimes the answer is obvious, but we don't look for it. We don't, open up the dialogue. Um, you cannot choose the circumstances that you find yourself in, but you can always choose your response, and how you choose to react can change your outcome. Right? You can't choose what happens, but you can choose how you respond to it, and how you respond to it does influence and change the outcome, right? Your reaction is always up to you. Now, I just want to ask a couple people, if you don't mind unmuting. Do you think most of our agent community do the right response to most challenges or controversies? What do you think? Do you think, Brand Blake, do you think people are biased, resourceful, or biased, panic?
You try to encourage agents to make the right choice and not like sometimes it's good to bounce it off of someone else before going back right away and spewing it out of your, mouth, because sometimes you're not saying the right thing. But I think a lot of our agents are resourceful and can make the right choice. And getting back to your resilience, I think that's the opposite of that is what has dragged so many people down, right? They're letting the market dictate to them instead of dictating how the market is going to work for them. So, we got
Hang on.
A lot, right? Yeah, and like every 2 weeks.
So yeah, if you are talking, if you can if talking outside the meeting, just mute yourself. So Fran, as a experienced manager, and maybe you look at the other sides of our transactions, a lot of the less experienced agents, I see them in my mind going, as soon as there's a problem, oh my God, I knew this deal was going to fall apart. I can't believe it's happening to me. I'm a victim. Why did this appraiser come in 5,000 low? I knew it wasn't like, do you think that happens a lot, especially with inexperienced people?
I think it does because it's easier to blame someone else than maybe not being proactive. Like I just had a situation where a client lost the house over Memorial Day weekend because the attorney didn't wrap up attorney review. And now, another offer came in, beat them out. And I said, all right, well, listen, I think it's a sign that there's something better out there for you. So we're going to go out, we're going to find you another house. But now we're wrapping up the inspections on the house they're selling. And I said, you go back to your attorney and you tell him you want to respond to those inspections and say it's concluded, because as long as it's open here in New Jersey, right? So I said, you go back to him and tell him that. That's how you want him to respond to the other attorney on your inspection items. And they did that. So I think the experience helped get them through. Sometimes you can't help what an attorney is doing, and I felt terrible for them, but look, it will find something better, because then it just wasn't meant to be. We're going to find the right house. So
I want to ask this question to the group. Who feels that the market, and I want you to be honest, who feels that whether the market goes up or down, interest rates go up or down, that's going to impact your income in the next 12 months? Now, somebody have to be honest, because I see it happening. So if you feel it's going to impact your income in the next 12 months, raise your hands. Tricia, who else feels that it's going to impact your income?
I do.
Who's the other I do? I'm sorry.
I do. In the clientele that I usually work in, it's tough right now. So talking to a lot of the agents that are working that same type of clientele, they're looking to see if they can switch out of that and go to another type of clientele where the market is moving in our area. So it does affect.
So and I hope this doesn't come across as it impacts speed, but not my business. I just felt like so. As you've observed, I've been very aggressively trying to grow our network and our family here, and I couldn't sleep at night if I was dependent upon the Federal Reserve, the number of housing sales, or any of those statistics. Okay, I am more than committed to an outcome independent of the market or whatever anything else happens. Okay, I don't care oil prices, I don't care interest rates, I don't care number of housing sales, because when housing sales decline, people exit the business, right? And there are always people having their best year in a down market. And when you're in a down or a changing market, okay, it gives you the ability to create separation by playing where the puck is going, the old Wayne Gretzky call, instead of playing with the old playbook from last year. Okay, and as a leader of this group and a contributor, I want to say, like, you deserve to give yourself a raise every year. And the only way that you can do that is by improving the value and the communication that you have to get people to take the right action. Okay, we are not in the manipulation business. We're in the communication business. We're in the information business. Okay. And, I often talk about this in different ways, but the biggest challenge in this market, what's the biggest challenge for us in this industry? Anybody?
Not enough inventory?
What's that? Not enough inventory?
Not enough inventory?
No, I don't think so.
No?
So and it's not a right or wrong answer. Getting real leads to work. That's a good observation, but that's not so I believe the biggest challenge is us. All right. And whether you believe you're going to have a good year or you don't, you're right. Whether you believe you're going to have a good year or you believe not, you're probably correct. And
Rob, I'd like to interject there. I think that the interest rate affects our market, but it doesn't make me think that my production level is going to go down. So I think, and I said this on our Arizona mastermind last fall, I think it's the uncertainty people are feeling. And it changed when the war started to a degree.
So would you agree that it's both a challenge and an opportunity if you can embrace it?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said, would you agree or disagree that it's both a challenge and an opportunity at the same time?
Absolutely.
And whether it's a challenge or an opportunity is the perspective that you overlay onto that. Okay. And if you are resilient, every challenge is in fact an opportunity.
Yes.
Every problem is a gift. Because if you have a transaction that goes smooth, easy, no issues, and it closes, that's great. But if you have a transaction that has 2 or 3 wrinkles in it and a couple of bumps along the way and you solve them, doesn't it have more significance and relevance to you, and it builds up your motivation? You're like, I'm able to solve this problem and my client is lucky. Maybe they don't realize it, maybe they do, right? But you know that you were the impetus for getting through that, right? And it's like an insurance policy, right? If a transaction goes easy, that's great. But if there are problems in it, being that we have the experience and the mindset to get through it, that helps the client have peace of mind, which is priceless. I don't know how you can put a price tag on peace of mind. And if I call you, Trish, and I'm like, I'm so stressed out, the seller's not responding, this, that, the other thing, oh my God, it might not close. And if you panic, you make the situation worse, right? So we can control our emotion. We've been in the business long enough so that we can influence how this goes. And if we panic and we still show up on time with the closing being done, I think the experience is compromised, right? I don't want my surgeon doing open heart surgery saying right before the surgery, yeah, hey John, I've never seen this before. I think it'll work out. But let's put you down and we'll hope for the best. I'd be like, no. I want another opinion. Would you not, like, if that happened?
Yes, absolutely. So my thought is we can deal with almost everything if our partners communicate with us in a timely manner.
And Tricia, a lot of times, you mean the other people in the transaction?
Right. So I shared this with Rob Davis, who I do a lot of work with, our preferred lender. I had clients come to me with their own lender, a national lender. This is about 3 years ago. And the lender wouldn't return my calls, and we were closing the Thursday before the long weekend. They had their mover set up. They wouldn't return my call. So I couldn't do what I needed to do to get the deal closed. So that's why I always say our partners are equally important as we are. And I tell my clients that right up front, and I use that story. And so I think it's really important to have the partners that you can trust and rely on for our clients.
Right. So I mean, that's part of the confident conversation you have early on, and then you have a relevant recent example of somebody who tried to outsmart the system and created tremendous anxiety. By the way, I hope they closed on time, but
They didn't. They had to move everything, everything.
so that Trisha, that's a gift for you now, because you can share that story and say, look, you know what,
Absolutely.
if you have somebody that you feel is giving you a better opportunity, I'd like you to talk to Rob. Maybe he can match the opportunity, or maybe he could share with you why that might not be possible.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
do it from not a manipulative perspective, but from a perspective of providing a better experience to the consumer, right? By
Yes.
having that consistency. So you can't change your circumstances. You can always change your response, and how you react changes your outcome. Okay. Sometimes we get angry, we get upset, we get emotional. Does that serve us most times or not? That doesn't serve us, right? At least I don't think so. So you have your emotional reaction is a decision, and it has an impact, right? The way because sometimes if you emotionally react, they emotionally react back, then it escalates, and the problem becomes bigger. Find a sense of purpose. We cannot protect ourselves from hardships. What we can do is have the confidence and the belief that it's always possible to overcome adversity. I've seen very few things in this business that we can overcome. Okay. I've seen resourceful listing agents have transactions going south. They do the work for the other agent. They provide the lender, the attorney. They provide recommendations to help get the transaction completed. So it's a choice. Confidence and a belief that it's always possible to overcome adversity. Adversity will come. It's not, I hope adversity doesn't come. It will come. Maybe not this transaction, maybe 3 times next transaction. It can debilitate or it can motivate you, right? You've seen agents that, oh my God, the sky is falling. I knew this deal was going down. Or you can have agents like, not a big deal. We'll just order another appraisal. Do this, we'll do that. One moment, one decision, one choice can change your business, change your life, and bring you closer or further away from your dreams and your goals. One moment, one decision, one choice can change everything. The distance between you are now and where you want to be is action. Before taking action, you have a choice. Do you stop procrastinating and pushing your dream further out? Mindset is a shift that changes everything. You have a choice to be mentally unbreakable or mentally vulnerable. All right. If you don't challenge your mind, you stay weak. Struggle finds you. And if you don't, you can't be broken. Stop complaining, stop seeking comfort, push yourself into challenges, and stop making excuses that keep you stuck. And if you find yourself doing these things, maybe this is programmed in your head and you're not a victim. You have control over it, right? If I had 2 transactions that fell apart today, I would work harder to make sure that I replace them with 3. Right? There's nobody that says you can't do that. Daily habits build mental strength. I like to say that eat the frog first, win the day before noon. Do the difficult things first. Some examples are you need to have a sound mind and body. They're connected, but who pushes going to the gym or exercising to the end of the day, and then it often never happens? Who pushes prospecting to the end of the day and things get in the way and they don't happen? It's the Pareto principle. Things envelop to fill your day to avoid the things that you don't want to do. So you need to do those first. Control your emotions under pressure. And this is more than just problems. This is a deliberate communication technique and not a manipulation. Pause before you react. When you're in a conversation, especially a sales opportunity, a pause is powerful, because what do they say? The person who speaks first, what? Loses, right? The person who speaks first loses. You can embrace that awkward silence, but what do you think most of our peers do? Blah, 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 right? They just talk, fill the air with that awkwardness. And when you're constantly talking, are you building trust, or do you think you're sounding like a desperate salesperson? Which one do you think you're migrating towards? Miguel, if you're talking all the time, what do you think?
Salesperson.
You're saying like a desperate salesperson. Yeah. And do you think reacting with emotion is favorable to a positive outcome, or do you think being deliberate?
Maybe the way I see it is reacting with emotion or emotional. Maybe not reacting emotional, but empathy with the situation may be useful. You don't want to be
So,
callous to a situation, but you don't
so,
want yourself to be emotional because of it.
so Miguel, I'm just going to take a challenge in the transaction. Let's just say that we have a quick closing. We're using the preferred lender. The appraisal comes in low, and oh, I knew it was going to fall apart. The appraisal came in low. I'd say, hey, Miguel, we have some good news. The appraisal came in low. We're going to get another one, and if it's underappraised, maybe we can get a discount on the price. Like I would turn it into a positive. Right, but most of the people in this industry are panicking because of the challenge or the opportunity. Remain calm under. I see very few instances where not remaining calm and collective under pressure is a benefit, especially in the industry we're in. People don't want to hire an emotional chicken to sell their house. Okay, they want to have somebody who has experience, clarity, confidence, and composure, not panic. And for crying out loud, stop wishing things were different and start dealing with them as they are, right? I can't control the interest rates. I can't control how many houses sell this year. There's a lot of things I can't control, but I can control my destiny. I can't control my income. And when there are challenges, there are more opportunities for the skilled professionals who take the time to invest in themselves. Does everybody agree with that? And if you don't, I want to have a conversation. Anybody take exception with that? Even when the market crashed and there were short sales, who made the most money? The people who got the designations and learned how to do short sales. Everybody else was losing their house, and there were people that were thriving, correct? Making tons of money. Learn to embrace failure. Does anybody like to have failure? Anybody gonna admit it? Are you gonna have it whether you want it or not? Are we all gonna have it?
Yes.
So you can choose to walk around with your head down, Miguel, or Pam, you can choose to look at it as an opportunity. Correct?
Failure is a part of growth.
Part of growth, right? Do you think anybody that's ultimately successful in life has gotten there without failing many, many times before they succeeded?
No.
Nobody does it. The difference between winners and the rest are that they persist through failure, right? I mean, if you know Michael Jordan, I think he was cut from his high school basketball team. All right, went to be the GOAT in basketball. So he failed. But I think he practiced more than anybody else, and failure was not an option. And I'm going to make the bold statement that you can't grow without failing, because failing teaches you. Thomas Edison failed 10,000 times before he created the light bulb, right?
Edison said 10% inspiration, 90% perspiration.
Yeah, and that goes back to the saying, Abe, that hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. You ever hear that one? I'll repeat it. Hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. Develop an unshakable attitude. Nobody wants to hire a surgeon that's concerned about how the outcome's going to be. Nobody wants to hire an agent that's like, well, Abe, it depends on where the market is. If there's more inventory, we might have some issues selling the house, right? Instead, when I onboard a listing, what do I tell people, Abe?
Can't hear you. I can't hear you, sir.
I said, if I'm taking on a new listing, what do I tell people? Do I tell them that if it doesn't sell, or do I say, hey, we have a backup plan? It's called the 10-10-0 rule, right?
Definitely.
I know how this business works, right? And
Definitely.
Nobody can control the outcome, but we control the way that we engage. Okay. Abe, you make how many calls a day?
Oh, 80 to 100.
80 to 100. Does anybody ever say no to you?
So
Does anybody ever say no to you?
oh, yeah, but I don't listen. I come back again, You're going to get so many rejections and you come back.
Right. You probably get, if you make 80 calls and 40 answer, you probably get 39 rejections. Is that fair to say?
Possibly.
Yep. So, but you keep going on. You have an unshakable attitude. You're mentally strong and you don't crumble, because that's part of who you are. That's part of the DNA. That's part of the process.
You know what? Every day I wake up with what Richard Flint said. Every day you look in the mirror and say, what am I doing today to create a possibility?
Yeah. Mentally strong people don't crumble. Mentally strong people don't crumble. All right. Crumbling's not an option. The ability to master your emotional control is a skill. It's not a saying. The ability to remain calm under pressure is what separates the strong from the weak. You can't control your circumstances, but we can control our responses. Stop wishing things were different and start making yourself better, right? Because things are going to be what things are going to be, right? No matter what we wish. Like, are there any lenders on the call? Do we have any lenders on?
Right here.
Right. So, Mehdi, would you like for interest rates to fall 2%?
I would.
And if you're hoping and wishing, do you think that influences what happens?
Absolutely not.
So you have to deal with you have to play the hand that you're dealt, correct?
Correct. Definitely.
So stop wishing things are different because they're going to be what they're going to be, and you just
Right.
need to react to them.
That's absolutely correct.
So, when I was in the lending business and, refinances were abundant, when refinances went away, it was a good thing for me because it forced me to meet a lot of great real estate professionals that were of a similar mindset to me and that we could grow our business collaboratively together by design. Right. So what was bad was good. I was in my early 20s. The people at the bank said, oh, 3Zs will be out of business soon because the interest rates went up and there's no more refinances. They grossly underestimated my commitment. The power of discipline over motivation. What's more empowering, discipline or motivation? What do you think?
Motivation.
Motivation. Right. Anybody else?
Discipline.
Motivation.
What'd you say, Ian?
Motivation, definitely.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm gonna
I
take
would say different.
Okay.
Discipline.
I think if you have discipline, then it doesn't matter if you're motivated, you get the motivation because you just have what you do every day. And then once you get going, you get it done.
Can't have one without the other.
So here's my perspective on it. And again, there's no right or wrong answers, but motivation is temporary. You get yourself motivated, that's temporary. Discipline is what makes you consistent and what makes you great. Discipline creates consistency. Consistency creates greatness.
No, that's true.
Okay. So again, no right or wrong answers, but I think motivation is a temporary solution. And I hate to break it to you, but I don't know anybody that's motivated every day. Sometimes we get up and we're not motivated. But you know what? When you're not motivated, winners have the discipline to do it anyway.
Only
Winners have the discipline to do it anyway.
Mm.
Stop waiting for the perfect moment. There's never a perfect moment. Stop waiting for it. It never happens. The sooner you build discipline, the sooner your life changes. Create systems, not just goals. Goals are great, but they're meaningless without systems. Right? You can have that vision board, right? But if you don't have a map or systems to get there, it should be renamed a frustration board, right? Because these are all the things you can't have with the behavior that you're embracing today. Small daily actions lead to massive results, and discipline is the key. Motivation is unreliable, discipline's everything. You can decide today is the day that you commit to change and level up. I'm going to take a minute break from this topic. I'm going to talk a little bit about. Did anybody see the Tamir Poling interview on was it Housing Wire or no?
Yes, but
Yeah, it was Riz Media, I think. Riz Media. And I saw our CEO made an interesting comment. I thought, by the way, if you haven't seen it, it was emailed to all the Remax associates. So if you're a Remax person on here, check your email. It might have went to your spam. But I thought our CEO said something that was very profound. He said, despite the AI buzz, the one thing that cannot be commoditized is your ability to communicate, create relationships, and tell a story. The one thing that cannot be commoditized is your ability to communicate, create relationships, and tell a story. Does anybody want to disagree? Does anybody see AI being able to get into that space? Can AI knock on the door? Can AI, have a cup of coffee with your client? Can AI tell a story?
Give it time.
Maybe. But you know what, Terry? You are successful because of your personality and who you are. And I don't think your clients will be persuaded by AI.
Thank God.
No, but do you really no? And I'm being honest with you. I want to have a authentic conversation. Do you think that your clients, the people that you've helped in the past, that you have relationships with, the ones that you play tennis with, the ones that you used to work with, the ones that you've sold their parents' house, that you've worked with their neighbors, do you think that AI has a chance at pushing Terry out of a transaction?
My former clients, no. The people that know me personally and know my workability and what I've done for them, no. But this newer generation, it's like they can't be bothered. It's like, text me or whatever. So that's where I'm having a problem breaking through.
All right. So Terry, do you think that the generation before you felt the same way about your generation?
Probably when they had to go office to office to pick up a key and thought our life had become so simple with lock boxes. Yes.
Right. So, I was around when we went from, telephone books with properties in them to the internet, and people were freaking out.
Mm.
All right. Every time that there's a change, people freak out. Terry, the change that you have with these, I don't know what you call them, these people, the new generation, it won't work with them. If you believe that, or if you believe it will, you're right.
I just believe it's in for my age bracket, it's made it harder.
Right.
But now I know kids that know AI inside out, upside down. They can do it in their sleep. They haven't closed a deal because they don't know how to negotiate. They don't know how to speak to people. So we're still, valued in that area.
So Terry, you had an illustrious career. You have an illustrious career, yet you're still on these calls, and you're getting a gift here because the gift I'm giving you is
Jewelry.
I didn't know I was doing jewelry, but I'm giving you a better gift than jewelry. Okay,
Okay.
jewelry can be stolen. Your education cannot.
Money on it.
What I'm telling you is even with the level of experience that you have, when you tell that story to yourself, it influences the way that you behave subconsciously. Okay, and when I take you back to the generation before you, what they thought of your generation, they were saying the exact same thing. They were saying, and then you go back 5 generations saying, oh, those people with telephones, or then there's the people, oh, they fax. Like, what's this fax machine, right? And then there's, oh, there's a computer, right? These people are, I don't understand it. They move my cheese. That's not how things were done. We were the handshake, meet people at the office. They would come in the office because there was no telephone. So it's always changed, Terry. And yes, Fran, thank you for the Who Moved My Cheese book. So it's the perspective that you have, and maybe you won't have the same conversion rate, Terry, but it will be higher than it is today if you just change the perspective, and that's a choice how you change the perspective.
I agree.
And if you believe, if you say those people in that generation, it makes it more difficult for you. Small daily actions lead to massive results, and discipline's the key. Motivation's unreliable, discipline's everything. I do repeat myself here because I want to program you and I want this to stick into your head. You can decide today to commit to change and level up. You don't rise to the level of your hopes, you fall to the level of your emotional conditioning. You don't rise to the level of your hopes and dreams, you fall to the level of your behavior and emotional conditioning. Pretty profound, huh? Hopes don't fill the gas tank. What fills the gas tank is your emotional conditioning and your behavior, your discipline. Life is not happening to you, it's responding to you. You're not born with resilience. It's something that you build decision by decision, turning pressure into power. 2 people experience the same event. One collapses and the other one rises. Life isn't happening to you, it's responding to you. Think about that. You're not born with resilience. It's something you build decision by decision. You turn pressure into power. 2 people experience the same event. Outcomes are different. One collapses, melts down, the other one rises, right? You see it all the time. And when you think about it, you can see how clear it is. But sometimes we just don't think about it, right? And if a circumstance happens to you in a transaction, it happens to an average agent, what's the difference in the outcome going to be, right? Robert in Gainesville, I see you're active on the chat. You see some familiar faces, right? You're on mute there.
It's nice to see some of the old folks down in South Broward.
So Robert, you're one of the best dressed people here. I want to comment and commend you on that. You got your name.
Thank you.
You got your name tag on, and you're dressed for success. You're dressed for success. So, if you think about it, Robert, you've been in the business for more than 5 years, right?
Yeah, 40 to make.
I didn't want you to put that out there. I gave you a pass, but okay, 40 years. So, but you've seen a lot, right?
Yeah, that's for darn sure. And you were talking about the different generations, and I was born in the early 50s and grew up in the 60s, and can remember repeatedly how everybody talked about the hippies and the world was going to the dogs and it just wasn't happening. And then in the 70s, I mean, it was just, what's going to happen to the world? And here we are 50 years later. So I don't know. I guess we have to be optimistic with this next generation, and I guess we have to roll with the punches. And and I guess take a ride with the new roles of the young world and the new generations.
And Robert, I think that there's an 80-20 rule in almost everything. And I think 80% of the people are bias negative, right? Oh, I knew this was going to happen to me. I'm a victim. This is coming on, right? And there's 20% of the people that look at this as an opportunity. And the way that you interpret what's happening around you is in fact a choice. Okay. It's always been a choice. And sometimes it's not a conscious choice, right? You just react without thinking. And I'm encouraging everybody to think about it and to look at challenges as opportunities. Okay. The perfect case is, just go back 5 or 6 years ago, like 5 years ago, it's 2021. May of 2021. If you're looking to buy a house, what did that look like back then? I'll ask you, Robert. So were you in Gainesville or in Broward then?
Higher interest rates, the whole 9 yards. It was crazy.
So the interest rates then were like 3%.
Oh, well, prior
in,
to that, I guess.
in,
Yeah.
20, in 2021, right after the pandemic. Like,
Okay.
if I'm a buyer and I want to go out with you, like how many houses would I usually be able to see in my price range?
Not many. One.
One,
Not many at all.
one, maybe two if you're lucky. And then if I came to you and said, "Hey, Robert, maybe I want to come back on Tuesday with my parents and take a look at it, and we can decide if we're going to make an offer."
Yeah.
What would you tell me?
I would say forget it. You got to do something today, and there's probably going to be 10 others in front of you.
Right. And was that this? The interest rates were great, but was that a euphoric opportunity for buyers, or was that especially stressful?
I would say stressful because, every time you had a buyer that you were hoping that we're going to be able to get a transaction together, and only to be, how many of us lost deals because we wrote contracts, 5, 10, 15, even 20,000 higher than list prices, and we still missed out on them. So yeah, it was a stressful situation, I thought.
Right. But we look back at it now and say that those were the good old days.
That's for sure.
But that's perspective, Robert. And what I want to say to you is like, if we can relate this story to today's buyer and say, you know what, there were a lot of buyers that bought houses that they didn't like because it was the only choice they had. They had moments to make a decision, right? And they were under tremendous stress and duress during that time period because there were oftentimes tens of offers, maybe 40 or 50 at times on a particular house. It was not uncommon for it to go 50, 100, 150 over the asking price. And you have no appraisal contingency. You had no inspection. These are all things that were going on. And a great communicator can tell that story and try to find inspiration for somebody who belongs in a house. Because the cost of waiting is still there. There's a lost benefit from not taking action. And if we are only DDOs, then we deserve what we get. Who knows what a DDO is?
Really?
It's not like a designation for a dentist. Okay. DDO is a designated door opener. You provide no other value. You're a property tourer. All right. And that's what the consumer sometimes looks at us as, right? As a roadblock to access, who provides very little value. Do you think some of and I'm going to go back to you, Terry, do you think some of those young whippersnappers that have AI and access on their computer to all this information might think that we are limited in the value that we provide?
Possibly, till they meet up with us and see what kind of knowledge we're offering.
Right. And Terry, there's a percentage of those people. I'm going to say the 80-20 rule. Maybe 80% will see it, maybe 20% won't.
Correct.
And most agents will focus on the 20% that you try to explain to them and they reject it, and then they fester on the fact that they failed. But the choice is yours as to what you focus on. Okay, that's a decision that you have. And I really feel bad that we don't go back to all these people that were unsuccessful buying in 2020, 2021 and re-engage them and not desperately try to sell them, because right now they don't feel as motivated because interest rates don't start with a 3. Okay. But there's a lot more positive than, the only negative I can see is that the interest rate's higher. Okay. It might be a big negative, but it's probably not coming back to 3%. So let's focus on the positive, right? You can now look at 5 or 6 houses. You can now negotiate. You can get the seller to pay closing costs. You may be able to get a grant. There are a lot of things that you can do, but all we do in this industry is we are order takers. We show them what they ask and we add less value. And I'm just encouraging you to look into your resume of experience and find a way to communicate that to people without being a desperate salesperson, right? The difference is not strength; it's interpretation of what that means, right? This next generation is not motivated; they think they know everything. Okay, that's our interpretation. We can change the meaning we give that. Meaning is the ultimate human power. The moment you change what something means, you change how you feel. So, Terry, if you feel that these people, this generation, we're broad brushing it, they think they know it all.
Oh, definitely.
It changes the way that you engage with them. Okay, the way you feel changes the way you engage, and it becomes at some point a self-fulfilling prophecy. The moment you change how you feel, you change how you act. The moment you change how you feel, you change how you act. The moment you change how you act, you change your destiny, right? If you behave differently, your future is different. If you want unstoppable resilience, you must stop saying, why is this happening to me? And you must say, every challenge, every failure is a gift. Now, Robert, you can say you've gone too far now. I welcome it if you feel that way. But honestly, I think every problem, every challenge is an opportunity in disguise. Can you comment on that?
No, I agree with
You're
you. You
veteran.
have to take advantage of what's in front of you. I mean, it's same like a football team. You know, if they're trying one thing and it doesn't work, they got to work around what the defense gives them. So I think that's one way to look at it, and we just have to work around the obstacles and try something different every day. And everything you got to show up. You know, I'm at the office every day about 7:30, and you got to be here. You got to put the hours in, make the calls. What's his Abe had to say, and God bless you, Abe, and stay with it. I mean, that's what it takes. I think a lot of us, the successful ones, have done that year after year after year.
Right. And Robert, one of the beautiful things about this group is not the sunny day group where if the weather gets a little cloudy, we bag groceries or we go drive Ubers. This is the serious real estate group here. And my mission is to provide you with today emotional intelligence for you to be able to be that pillar that our client needs in the environment today. Right?
Rob, I'd like to interject something. Last week with the Wayne session, I said, features tell and benefits sell. You've got to take advantage of every opportunity and don't turn your back.
Wonderful. I don't. Somehow we have a bad echo with you, Abe. Maybe somebody else in the office is on as well. But next time, if you can just make sure that you're not so close. I'm going to let's see. Nicole, are we going to Gainesville next 2 weeks from a week from this Wednesday, right?
Yes. The week of the 10th, I know we've got some meetings.
Yeah, I think it's an office meeting. Is that Wednesday the 10th, Robert? Okay. So, Rob, I'm going to ask you a question. 40 years in the business. What's the biggest mistake sellers make?
Oh, I mean, obviously the overpricing thing is one of the biggest, and certainly trying to tell us or trying to imply that they know a little bit more about the business than what we do. I mean, they sell one house, we sell hundreds. So it's one of those. That's what I think. I mean, obviously, I'm sure there's a whole host of things that go on, but to me, that's one of the biggest.
So I'm going to tell everybody in this group that Robert is an expert, an established professional with an outstanding reputation. Now, I'm going to ask you another question. Do sellers always recognize your experience and reputation and follow what your advice is?
Unfortunately, no. I mean, obviously, they have a tendency, they want to do their own research. They want to say, yeah, but Zillow does this. And oh, by the way, my neighbor, who I guess, he's a surgeon or somebody, he knows that the prices are better. And then I have this cousin in California, and he says that the prices are going to go up farther. And so we really just need to keep hanging out at this high $50,000 price above what the market is.
So Robert, we have 5 minutes left. I'm gonna whet everybody's appetite with the dialogue here on how to turn a prolific industry challenge into an opportunity, because you've 40 years in the business and it's probably a challenge still for you, correct?
It can be, of course. I mean, and I think we have the opportunity to decide whether we want to take those listings or not. I mean, it really, I'm sure a lot of people on this calls have been on appointments where they've said, hey, for this particular scenario, I just can't take this listing and I don't want to waste my time. And I think myself over the last 5, 6, 7, 10 years, I've become more and more into that category because you just don't want to waste time with uncooperative people that you just don't have the option. I mean, we're still seeing expired listings, and I think a lot of situation is those very reasons because I see expired listings every day that I truly feel are, above the market. And
So Rob,
agents suck in the-
did I freeze or did you?
I don't know.
My internet connection's a bit unstable. My internet connections. Can you hear me, Robert?
I can hear you now. Yes, of course.
Okay. So I don't know you as long as many others here, but I'm gonna take a chance that I can be critical of some of the things that you're saying, and we can still be friends. All right. So I'm gonna tell you this is a almost verbatim quote from Jay Abraham, who is a prolific marketer, and he's actually the coach for Tom Ferry. I'm sure Tom Ferry pays him handsomely to coach him. He says 2% of what happens to us are acts of God, and we can't control them. 98% are result of the actions we take or fail to take. The decisions we make or don't make, forces and factors that are immutable, that we either recognize or don't recognize, and either refuse to harness or harness. And in a nutshell, Robert, what this is saying is that your clients are the same as everybody else's. And I believe there's a different conversation that can get them to take a different action. And I want to share with you my thought. When I come to a seller, and we might go over time 3 minutes here because my internet connection was bad. But when I engage with a seller, instead of trying to explain to them, my theory is I'm going to ask them better questions. Are you open to that? Okay. And I believe that one of the biggest mistakes that they make is mispricing their home and allowing it to accumulate days on market. I really believe that, and I study the numbers, and I can prove it. So I would come back to your house, Robert, and say, look, Robert, if we decided to work together, I want to share with you 3 distinct options that we can deploy when we launch your home on the market. Would you be interested in hearing about them? What do you think most sellers are going to say?
Yes, probably.
Absolutely. The first one, Robert, is the perceived market value. And that's the CMA and this is off script, that's the CMA that we do as an industry where we evaluate what we think the home is worth. And Robert, the perceived market value for your home is $425,000. Now, if you're a seller, you think it's worth $500,000. Is that possible, right?
Yeah, so I want as much as I can get.
Right. So a seller might think it's worth $500,000. So the perceived market value is $425,000. When you say that, the seller might be, that's it. And I calmly go back and say, Robert, the good news is that doesn't mean it's what's going to sell for. We have 2 other options. The second option we call it is the lottery option, where we price it above the perceived market value. And oftentimes sellers do this to have room to negotiate the price down. The third option, Robert, is to price it lottery style, where we intentionally price it 3 to 5% below the perceived market value. Now, would you be interested? Where do you do most of your business? What city or town?
Well, Gainesville, but it's a small place, so we go pretty much an hour's circumference around the whole area. Yeah, if you're out in the country or in the city, so we have a little bit of space.
So Robert, would you be interested in seeing how other sellers have fared using these 3 options in the past 6 months?
Yeah, most definitely.
So I've never had a seller say no to that, right? And then I pull out the numbers and I say, hey, Robert, the people who priced it at perceived market value, they took an average of 31 days to sell, between 21 and 45 days, and they sold for 99% of ask price. The people who chose to price it lottery style, on average, took 89 days, 2.3 price cuts, and it sold for 86.1% of original ask price. And it will actually show you a total number as well. And the people who priced it auction style, on average sold in 9 days for 104.2% of original ask price. Now, just curious, Robert, if we decided to work together, which of these 3 strategies do you think would be right for you and your family?
Well, I want to probably go with the high number because, we don't have any motivation. That's the big thing that I keep after, motivation. What's the motivation? I mean, do they need to be in New York City in 60 days?
So Robert, you just gave me another lesson for the group here, because you said they're probably going to go with the lottery price, correct?
In some cases, yeah. Once it just depends.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you that that's exactly what happened in the case where Serby sent this analysis to a client via email before intending to have a listing appointment, and the client closed themselves. They said, you're a great expert. We want to work with you. And Serby said, which price? And they said the first one. And Serby thought that the first one was the top one, which was the lottery. And she said, oh, what, 1.9999? And the client goes, no, 1.85. We want to sell it auction style. And now the reason I highlight this, Robert, is because you're so conditioned to sellers wanting to overprice it that you're by default saying that they're still going to want to overprice it. And that's in your head. Trust me. So when they do say, I want to list it at, so role play with me here. If you have a proper presentation conversation and I say the perceived market value is 425, lottery might be as high as 500, auction is 399. You're that outlier that says, hey, I still want to sell it at what? Give me a number.
Oh, the most I can get, I guess the higher number works for me. And again, I can take some time. I don't have to really be anywhere for the next 4 months.
So do you want to go up 500 or 475?
I'd rather go 499.
So you want to go 499? Let me ask you this question, Robert. I'm having fun with you because this is really good stuff. Robert, if you list it with the best agent in Gainesville with the best marketing at 499 and it doesn't sell, can I ask you how long would you wait before you reposition it?
Well, it kind of depends on, what happens with the job and a few other things going on with the kids. And so, yeah, I mean, we'd like to give it a shot. I mean, it's the summer market and it's a good time frame right now.
So my experience is most people would say, I'll give it 2 weeks or a month, right? And then I would say,
okay,
I'm going to share with you some experience that I've had firsthand. Hey, we're going to give it 2 weeks, 3 weeks, and then we're going to lower it from 499 to 449, right? We're going to lower it by 40,000, whatever, 50,000. And then I would say, so Robert, so you're on the market 21 days, you lower the price 50,000. We start to get some showings. Somebody stays in the house for 25 minutes. They open the cabinets, they walk through it. You happen to see on your Ring doorbell when they walk out the door, the agent says, so what do you think of it? They say, hey, we're interested. We're going to go home and discuss it. Now, Robert, after your house has been on the market for 23 days at this point, you just had a $50,000 price reduction. What's that conversation going to sound like?
As far as the seller goes, the seller might, number one, they might be happy that they can maybe get close to their asking, or the fact that they finally have someone that's going to be interested enough to present that contract.
So I want to go on a listing appointment with you. And because what I find sellers to say, Robert, is they put their buyer's mindset on. They're like, well, once the house has been on the market for 23 days and we just cut the price 40 or 50,000, the buyers are going to think that they smell blood in the water. They're going to lowball you and they're going to think you're desperate because you cut the price. Is it possible?
That may happen. Yeah, that may happen.
But that's what the sellers most commonly say. And I'm like, Robert, if we decided to work together, do you really think putting it on at 499 is the best strategy? And that's where I turned an objection into an opportunity. And I asked the seller questions instead of trying to explain it to them. And you taught me something today. It's the same lesson that Serby did when she responded back to the client when they said, we want the first price. And she assumed, based upon her beliefs, that they wanted to overprice it. That was in her head. And the customer said in a text message, I want to list it at 150,000 less. I want to list that auction style because I saw your numbers. True story. I don't think, Serby, you're not on the call, right? She's probably taking a listing, but that's a true story.
Oh,
I'm sure.
Hold on, she is. She's here. Is that a true story or what?
it's absolutely true. I almost fell out of my seat when I heard that. So
And
it
what
was
happened?
absolutely true.
Did you sell the property?
Oh yeah. For 1.9 something. And she still talks about it and texts me every now and then. She says that was a great strategy. So
And Serby, did this not start from controversy? You were like, Rob, I can't believe it. This lady got her. Tell the group. The homeowner did what?
she dropped over almost $200,000 in price. Sold it at the lottery price, no, the auction price. And I couldn't understand her because she had a thick accent, and I assumed that she went to the top price, and she did not. Then I turned it and converted it into Mandarin so that her husband could see it, and that was AI help.
So Serby assumed when she said the first one, you assumed that she wanted to go the high price.
Oh yeah,
And she texted back to you, said, I want to go lower. And
Yeah.
and Robert, that was because of the way I positioned it. And what you remember what the first thing she said on the text was?
I like your strategy.
It was, you are a great expert. Remember that?
Oh yeah,
I
yeah.
saved the text. Robert, the
Yeah,
first
I'm
thing on the
sure.
text, She said, "You are a great expert. I swear to you." That's what she said. And before we did this listing, Serbia was like, "Rob, I'm so upset because the homeowner got her what?
Real estate license. She
She
had
got
a
a
real
real
estate
estate
license
license." And Serbia's
to
like, "I'm
do
not gonna."
this.
Serbia didn't want to give her the price because she's like, "We're going to give her the price, and she's probably going to list it herself, right?"
Yep.
And you got the listing, and you sold a 1.9 something million dollar house without having to pay a referral fee. Robert,
Wow.
mic drop moment. I want you to invite me on a listing appointment.
Sounds good. The only thing I'll mention to the group is that I mean, I'm sure, I think we've had some conversations with personality types. I mean, I think your presentation, Rob, would be great for that architect or that the person that's very well detailed with all the numbers. But I tell you, I think we've all been around those types that they say, "Give me the baby, don't give me all these different numbers," because it just goes way over their heads. So I think you just have to know a little bit about the personality, who you're dealing with, and how you're going to handle those opportunities, quite honestly.
All right. Well, again, bring me on a particularly difficult listing appointment.
Okay.
Do it.
I ask you to do it because I believe, and I'm not being offensive, but I believe you have it in your head. Like, I'm going to ask strategic questions to your clients that are going to lead them to the right outcome. Because depending if you're analytical or if you're emotional, does a buyer care about that or not?
Well, the buyer doesn't, of course not.
No, the buyer doesn't. Is the correct decision dependent upon whether you're analytical or emotional? No, right? So it's our responsibility, it's our obligation, Robert, to have the strategy to ask the right questions to both types of people to get them to recognize the right outcome.
Right.
Okay. And 40 years in the business, I want to get an asterisk on your career saying that this guy helped me. That's my that's my passion. I really want to do that for you.
Yeah. Well,
Because
listen, like everybody here, you don't last this long in the business if you don't pick up a little bit from each and every person you deal with over the years. So, I mean, that's why I'm on the call today. Otherwise, if I thought I knew everything, I wouldn't be on the call.
that's another great point. So 40 years and he's on the call. So I appreciate that, Robert, and I do want to make a contribution. And I do think that the continual seller beatings that we've been getting over the years impact our beliefs, just like it did with Serby, where Serby thought that even though that they loved the analysis, they still wanted to overprice their house. And if we change the narrative, we change the outcome. And I volunteer to put myself to the test. So everybody, have a fantastic weekend. I hope to see you on the 10th, Gary. Find me a difficult listing appointment or maybe even two. I'll stick around for it.
All I can say is,
Thanks, everyone.
it's incredible.